Please welcome the President of the American Society of Nephrology, Dr. Prabir Roy-Chaudhury.
Thank you, and welcome to ASN Kidney Week. Now, Kidney Week is a place where we share stories. And so I, too, want to start by telling you a story. The year was 1993, and I was a first-year nephrology fellow at the Beth Israel Hospital. And yes, I did have hair then. And I clearly remember reading this article while going to work on the subway, which demonstrated that the use of the ACE inhibitor captopril in patients with type 1 diabetes mellitus could prevent the progression of kidney disease. And I remember feeling incredibly excited because I felt that nephrology now had a drug that we could call our own. And I just presumed that there would be a parade of new therapies coming into nephrology. How naive I was. Because what happened, in fact, was a quarter century of therapeutic stagnation, where ACEs and ARBs, much like the single flower growing out of the concrete, were the only therapies that we had because we did not have an innovation substrate in kidney care. But today, in 2025, the dream of that young nephrology trainee from 1993 could, in fact, be coming true. Because today, we have real momentum in kidney care. We have an increasing number of new therapies across the entire continuum of kidney care, from the glomerulonephritides to cardiovascular kidney metabolic diseases to xenotransplantation to innovative kidney replacement therapies. And of course, it's not just new therapies. We also have new care delivery pathways and payment plans that are beginning to be aligned with value, which means that the vision of my mentor, Dr. Falk, when he first spoke about curing kidney diseases in his 2012 presidential address, could in fact become a reality for the current generation of nephrologists. Now, the fact that we have so many new therapies that are either available or soon to be available, 10 for IgA nephropathy, 5 for cardiokidney metabolic diseases, 4 for lupus nephritis, and even 2 for our niche disease of C3 glomerulopathy, means that we are faced with a new set of challenges around how to use these therapies. Do we use them sequentially or in combination? Do we need to adopt a more precision medicine-based approach? And could some of these new therapies actually be used to prevent kidney diseases in high-risk patients? Now, I do not know the answers to these questions, but to me, these questions are not challenges, but rather they are amazing opportunities for clinical investigation by the current generation of nephrologists. And I personally never, ever want to go back when all we had was ACEs and ARBs, because it is exhilarating and liberating and quite frankly, just a lot more fun to be a part of a specialty that is pushing the envelope as nephrology is doing today. And so to all of you, the largest gathering of kidney professionals anywhere in the world, but most of all to the young nephrologists in the audience, I want to say this loud and clear: there has never, ever been a better time to be a nephrologist. Now you may wonder, Prabir, why is 2025 going to be different from your experience in 1993? And my answer to you would be that over the last 25 years, the kidney community has been able to build up an innovation substrate for kidney care. that allows for original science to be converted into new therapies and for these new therapies to then get to patients. And so what we do have in 2025 that we did not have in 1993 is momentum. We have momentum in kidney science. We have momentum in innovation and investment in kidney diseases. We have momentum in new kidney therapies. And we have momentum in care delivery through value-based care and global payment systems. But just having momentum is not enough. We have to keep the momentum going. We have to accelerate the momentum. Because if we don't, and if I was a kidney patient, then I would say to all of you, shame on you for not rising to the occasion. Now, one example of how we can accelerate the momentum in kidney science is the NIH-funded Kidney Precision Medicine Project, which links clinical and demographic and kidney outcome data in patients with acute kidney injury and chronic kidney diseases with omic signatures from their kidney biopsies. This will allow us to identify new mechanistic pathways that could then be used as druggable targets for the next generation of kidney therapies, and also as biomarkers for a more precision medicine approach to kidney care, so that we can get the right therapy to the right patient at the right time and in the right way. Another example of accelerating momentum, this time in the area of innovation and investment, comes from a public-private partnership between ASN and the FDA called the Kidney Health Initiative, whose goal is to facilitate the passage of new kidney therapies into the kidney disease space. The best example of KHI's success actually comes from an IgA nephropathy project that was able to demonstrate that an early reduction in proteinuria at 9 months was in fact an excellent surrogate endpoint for clinical trials in this field. Now, this shortened both the duration and the cost of clinical trials in IgA nephropathy. And the result is there for all of you to see at this meeting. Multiple new therapies for IgA nephropathy, lots of new clinical trials, and above all, a better future for patients with this disease. Most importantly, both KPMP and KHI have kept the patient perspective front and center through active patient advisory panels. And on behalf of all of us here today, I personally want to thank all the kidney patients in the audience and beyond for the urgency in their advocacy, because 50% of new patients starting hemodialysis today will not be alive in 5 years or less. Now, if you compare kidney innovation to a game of snakes and ladders, which is what I grew up with in India, or chutes and ladders, which is what my kids grew up with in the United States, then we are just getting started, because the kidney world is probably at square 15 or 20, far behind specialties such as cardiology and oncology, which are probably up there in the 60s and the 70s. So if we want to leverage the momentum that we now have, we absolutely need to be able to identify the ladders and avoid the snakes. And we need to address particularly the snakes or the challenges that are ahead of us. More than 50 years ago, Martin Luther King said that of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. Today, there are huge inequities and disparities in kidney care. And so we must do better. We must deliver the benefits of the new kidney therapies to regions with poor socioeconomic status, to inner cities, to rural areas, to border areas, to wherever we have vulnerable populations who will likely benefit the most from these therapies. And we must also never forget that kidney disease is a global problem and that the greatest benefit of generic versions of therapies such as the SGLT2 inhibitors will in fact be in low and middle income countries where access to kidney failure therapies are often limited due to cost. And if in fact we are truly committed to global kidney care, then we must also focus on finding a cure and a cause for CKD of unknown origin, which is increasingly common and devastating in Central America and South Asia. And so it was a very humbling experience for me to visit a village in India recently where 3 of the 12 houses in the street that you see on the right had patients on hemodialysis. And talking about the global kidney community, I am so proud of the fact that ASN is the world's largest international kidney organization with members from 142 countries. This is a very important part of who we are, and I want to highlight our partnerships with the International Society of Nephrology and the European Renal Association, and also with the Indian and Japanese Societies of Nephrology, where we are jointly advocating for global access to life-saving kidney therapies and better nephrology training. Another challenge that we face in the United States today is uncertainty in research funding for kidney diseases from the NIH. And so I am proud to share with you that ASN has committed $6 million of additional bridge funding over a 3-year period starting in January 2026 to fund kidney researchers impacted by these changes. I'm also delighted to announce a $2 million gift from Satellite Dialysis, which ASN will match with another $2 million to set up the Norman and Sandra Copland Transition to Independence grants. Thank you, David Copland, and all the members of the Satellite Dialysis Board. So Chris, Tom, and Glenn from the Satellite Dialysis Board for this incredibly generous gift. We also need to address the kidney workforce challenge, but I am going to frame this as an opportunity. So we currently have a dichotomy in kidney care, with a huge increase in innovation and interest and investment on the one hand, but with a nephrology workforce pipeline that is relatively flat. And that is exactly why we need to link education and awareness and early diagnosis and testing with an aggressive implementation of the new therapies so that they can then be the catalyst which will allow us to demonstrate the value of nephrology and nephrologists to governments and healthcare systems and insurers and payers. This focus will allow us to get payment for the new therapies and, most importantly, for the value add that we as nephrologists bring to the table. It will allow us as nephrologists to not only work hard, but also work smart. And in order to set ASN and the kidney community on the path of strengthening nephrology as a specialty and demonstrating value, I want to recognize the Vertex Foundation and the CEO of Vertex Pharmaceuticals, Dr. Reshma Keval-Ramani, herself a nephrologist, for a lead investment of $3 million, to which ASN will add another $2 million to initiate a comprehensive program that will train the kidney workforce in the implementation of the new immune-mediated kidney therapies. And I sincerely hope that this is just the beginning of many initiatives in different areas in this mode. But the big question, can all of this really happen? And the answer is that this can and will happen because of the strength, the resilience, the commitment, and the passion of the entire kidney community, including patients living with kidney diseases. Now, the reason that I am so certain about this is that the best part, by far, of my year as ASN president has been the humbling opportunity to meet with so many people in the kidney community in this country, all of you, and across the globe. People like Vishal Patel at UT Southwestern, who never gave up on his dream of finding a cure for polycystic kidney disease, and who discovered that blocking microRNA 17 could reduce cyst formation, which has resulted in a new treatment for this condition. People like Nicole Jefferson, who has lived with kidney disease as a patient for over 20 years, but never ever in all that time has she abandoned her fight for equity and justice in healthcare for all people living with kidney diseases. People like Clarissa Teo, who while doing a J1 visa waiver at the University of Mississippi, put together a primer for both international medical graduate trainees and their training programs, which has allowed for better care for vulnerable populations. And finally, people like Michelle Donnelly, who chose to become an advanced practice provider in a second career and who has absolutely transformed the care of veterans with a kidney transplant at a North Carolina VA medical center. Now, the end result of all of these interactions has always been the same. They have made me so proud to be a nephrologist. And I say this because we are truly holistic physicians. We are patient-centered. We follow the science. We come from many countries, yes, but that gives us a diversity of thought and opinion, which is good for our patients and for our field. And above all, we want to deliver better care for our patients. And these are exactly the qualities that are needed to leverage the momentum from the new kidney therapies into a cure for kidney diseases. In order to achieve this, however, each and every one of you needs to add your push to the momentum that we currently have. And so my challenge to all of you over the next 4 days and for when you leave Houston is that if you are a full-time clinician in community practice, do participate in care delivery pathways that will allow your patients rapid access to new kidney therapies. If you're a basic or translational science researcher, think about ways to get your science to kidney patients who are desperately waiting for your cutting-edge innovations. If you are a clinical trialist, encourage others to follow in your footsteps. We have so many questions to answer, so many studies to do. If you are an industry partner, work with other industry colleagues, academic institutions, federal agencies to pool together your clinical and biological data to develop an integrated and real-world evidence-generating system for the benefit of the entire kidney community. And perhaps most importantly, if you are a fellow in training or a young nephrologist, know that this is your meeting and this is your time. And yes, and I smile as I say this, I wish I was starting my nephrology career today and not in 1993. So I want to end, as I started, on a personal note. So I have been a nephrologist now for over 25 years. And what I remember most about all of that time are the patients that I've cared for. I remember my successes. The first patient that I saw as a young transplant attending in Cincinnati in 1998 who tracked me down on the 25th anniversary of her successful living donor kidney transplant to thank me. But I also remember my failures. The young woman who had tears of joy in her eyes when I told her that she was getting a second kidney transplant, but who then died when the kidney failed and she ran out of vascular access. Now, the point that I want to make here is that the vast majority of my memories over all these years are all about patients with kidney failure. But that does not have to be the case as we look to the future. As a result of the new therapies, we now have the opportunity to prevent kidney diseases potentially, to slow the progression of kidney diseases, and yes, to dream about curing kidney diseases. But this will only happen if we have successful implementation of these new therapies. And so my final challenge to you is for all of us to work together, healthcare professional organizations, industry partners, federal agencies, governments, and patient organizations in this country and across the globe to accelerate the momentum together so that the new therapies actually get to all the patients who will benefit from them in this country and across the globe. And if we can do that, then that's where my kidney story and your kidney story, but most importantly, the kidney stories of the 850 million people living with kidney diseases all over the world will change from one of kidney disease to that of kidney health. Thank you so much for your attention. It has truly been the greatest honor and privilege of my professional life to have served as your president. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. The last story that I want to share with you is perhaps the most important story for me, and it's about the people who have made my journey possible. First and foremost, I want to recognize the love and support of my wife, Ashwini, throughout the 35 years that we have known each other. Thank you. And I want to tell all of you that Ashwini and I are so proud of our 3 children, Akshay, Aditya, and Anupama, who are sitting right here on the front row. I also want to tell my parents that none of this would have happened without them. And I think that if my father was listening from above, he would have liked the emphasis on new therapies and clinical trials since he chaired the committee that created the current guidelines for clinical trials in India. I've also been incredibly lucky to have had amazing mentors throughout my career. My housemaster at high school, Andrew Rosario, who gave me my first leadership role, which I actually did terribly at. Colonel Shetty at the Armed Forces Medical College, who showed me that medicine could also be about research and about getting the word out. Professor Petrie at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland, who after my father has had the greatest influence on who I am as a person. And also in Aberdeen, David Power, my PhD advisor and fellow cricket aficionado. In Boston, I was lucky to come under the tutelage of Terry Strom and Vikas Sakatme. And in Cincinnati, I learned from master clinicians in the form of Roy First and Shashikant. I met Ron Falk for the first time in 2010, and he truly changed my life by introducing me to the world of ASN and the Kidney Health Initiative. Thank you, Ron. ASN has been a second home for me for the last 13 years, and I want to recognize the current council, previous councils that I've been a part of, and our Executive Vice President, Todd Ibrahim. And above all, the ASN staff, who are absolutely amazing. Everything that I've spoken about today has truly been a team effort. Closer to home, I could not have asked for a better group of people in my lab, and I am so lucky and so grateful to be a part of the UNC Kidney Center family. Finally, I really want to recognize all my patients from whom I've learned so much, not only about medicine, but more importantly, about life. Thank you again for your attention. All right. So on to the next part. Each year, ASN recognizes companies that support society programs and activities through ASN's Corporate Support Program. Their generosity and commitment allow ASN to provide the highest standard of educational and scientific programs to thousands of kidney professionals, helping the kidney community to transform kidney care together. This year, 28 companies participated in this program, and I would like to personally thank Akebia Therapeutics, Ardelyx, Novartis, Novo Nordisk, Otsuka, Travere Therapeutics, Vantiv, Vera Therapeutics, and Vertex Pharmaceuticals for their continuing commitment to improving kidney health worldwide.